Well, Jordan is joining the U.S. in its calls against an Israeli invasion of Rafah. That's a city in southern Gaza. President Biden met with Jordan's King Abdullah II yesterday at the White House. It was their first meeting since 3 U.S. soldiers were killed in a drone strike at a military base in Jordan late last month.
The two leaders discussed the ongoing situation in Gaza, including how to end the war and a plan for what comes next. They also addressed the growing concerns over a possible Israeli military operation in Rafah.
We cannot afford an Israeli attack on Rafah. It is certain to produce another humanitarian catastrophe. We cannot stand by and let this continue.
The major military operation in Rafah should not proceed without a credible plan for ensuring the safety and support of more than 1 million people sheltering there.
NBC News correspondent Aaron Gilchrist joins us now with more on their meeting. Aaron, good morning. So this is the first time the president has appeared alongside an Arab leader at the White House since the Israel-Gaza war began. Tell us the significance of the timing of this particular meeting and what role also is Jordan playing behind the scenes?
Well, timing-wise, Savannah and Joe, good morning to you. This is something that we've watched the key players in the Middle East, the countries that have a lot of influence, like Jordan, trying to make sure that they're getting out and gathering as much support for the ideas around a pause or a ceasefire in the fighting there, but also the humanitarian crisis that is developing there. The Jordanian king is on a mission this week, first stopping here in the U.S., then going on to Canada, trying to rally support for what he's called an immediate ceasefire. The Jordanians told us that before this visit happened yesterday. And so that was a key part of the conversation that the Jordanian king had with President Biden yesterday at the White House. Of course, we know the administration has said that a ceasefire, an out-and-out ceasefire, is not something that it's asking for, but it does want to see a long-term humanitarian pause, as the president referenced, and the White House spokespersons have been telling us throughout the last several days as well, while the U.S. is working on this deal that is slow to come together at this point, Savannah and Joe.
Yeah, so Aaron, what are we hearing from the president when it comes to trying to get this hostage release deal?
Well, the president is saying that his team is still working on it. You may remember, obviously, we had the first deal that happened back in November where there was a pause and a release of hostages. And now the effort is to get the remainder of the hostages released. But there's been this back and forth about what exactly that might look like between the Israelis and Hamas, obviously with the Qataris acting as an intermediary, and the U.S. and Egypt keep partners in the effort to get this deal done. I want you to hear the president talk about this a little bit in his remarks from the White House yesterday. Listen.
The United States is working on a hostage deal between Israel and Hamas, which would bring an immediate and sustained period of calm to Gaza for at least 6 weeks, which we could then take the time to build something more enduring. The key element of the deals are on the table. There are gaps that remain, but I've encouraged Israeli leaders to keep working to achieve the deal. The United States will do everything possible to make it happen.
And so the administration has told us that this deal is pretty much there. That was the quote we got from a senior administration official over the weekend. We know that today the CIA director, William Burns, is in Egypt meeting with the Qatari prime minister and meeting with his Israeli counterpart as well, trying to craft the final terms of a deal and get this across the finish line. Bill Burns was a key player in the first deal that was done. And so when he shows up, we expect that potentially this week we could see something finally come together.
Aaron, President Biden has publicly criticized Israel's plans in this war. We also saw some of that language coming from him as well as from Jordan. But we've not specifically seen Biden or any of his administration officials publicly support doing something like restricting aid to Israel or maybe imposing conditions on it. Have White House officials indicated whether we could be close to that point if Israel follows through with this specific planned ground assault on Rafah?
So you heard the president say that he doesn't want to see a major ground incursion into Rafah anytime soon, certainly without the conditions that would allow for the 1 million+ people who were pushed into Rafah as the fighting was going on in northern parts of Gaza, without having a protection plan in place for them. The administration at this point officially is saying that its policy on Israel has not changed. Its support for Israel has not changed. But we do know that through some administration officials, that there is talk about a plan being at least put on paper so that the administration wanted to restrict or put conditions on some of the aid that it's providing. There is a plan to do that. But, Savannah and Joe, at this point, officially, the U.S. has not changed its policy and its position on what Israel is ultimately trying to do, and that is dismantle Hamas.
All right, Aaron Gilchrist, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.